Hello and welcome, bookworms. Welcome to this week's episode of The Contested Narrative. We're looking at Greenteeth by Molly O'Neill. Now, the reason I bought this book, right, is so I went to the Dreamery Fairy Gardens just outside of York, and they are absolutely beautiful. I need to go back when the bluebells are out, apparently. That is on my to-do list. I'm hopefully going to do that in the next couple of weeks, weather permitting, but, UK weather. And when we were there, obviously we learned about different types of fairies and stuff like that. And there was a sign with being like Greenteeth, and I read a bit about her and I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. I'm quite enjoying this. Didn't think anything more of it. And then I was out in America and I went to a Barnes and Noble because I was told I had to. And essentially it's Waterstones, but American. And this is where this book and next week's book was bought from. And I walked in and the first thing I saw was Greenteeth. And I was like, well, I have to buy it. I was like, this is a sign. This is the fact that I was in York, saw Greenteeth like literally like about a month before. I've come here and the first thing I see is that book. I have to get it. So I bought it. And it was so good. I loved it. I will, honestly, it was so enjoyable. So essentially, you've got Jenny Greenteeth, okay, and she lives in a lake, and a lot of, so all these creatures that live in the lakes, they're all called Jennies. So you've got Jenny Greenteeth, she lives in this lake. And she's kind of minding her own business. She's got the best kept lake, minding her own business, occasionally things will fall in, she'll tidy it up. And then one day there's like this commotion on the side of her lake and she doesn't think much of it. And then a human gets thrown into her lake and she's a bit perturbed and she's like, why is a human being thrown into my lake? Now this is just like the witch trials kind of thing, but it gets so much better. So she frees this human and then she's like, oh, this human's a witch. So this is an actual witch, by the way, in the witch trials. And I love that little take. And she's like, right, okay, let me... And like something in her's like, do you know what? I'm going to save this little witch. And, and they form a bit of a friendship. And essentially, the witch wants to go back to, her house because she has a wife. She has a husband and she has 2 kids and she basically wants to live with them. So Jenny goes, all right, that's fine. Let me go find out about this priest. Let me find out what's happening. Why is he riled up the world against you and everything? And she goes there and realizes that he's not a real priest. He is possessed by a very, very old, ancient sort of like being that thrives on chaos. So she then goes, oh, sugar. And so then they go on this little adventure, her, the witch, and this little troll as well. This little goblin, sorry. And they go on this adventure to collect these things, to create a weapon to defeat this embodiment of evil so that she can go back to her village, essentially. And along the way, it's just like these little adventures where they've got to get like the horn of a unicorn, they've got to get the poison from the bristles of an enchanted hog, and so on and so forth. And because they're like, the only thing that could really kill him was like this sword of Camelot, and like we don't really know anything about it. And as we go on this adventure, obviously we're mainly with Jenny, and it's just so lovely. Like it genuinely is, like all the little bits that happens, like you just kind of sat there and you're like, oh my god, like come on. And like the trio is really good, and the fact that they keep going back to this magical being who was who ran the wild hunt, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it for you, I'm bored with you guys, so I'm gonna give you the tools on how to defeat this guy, but why should I do it? Like, do you know what I mean? And when you get to the ending, and when you get to sort of like the showdown, and when you get to like the final bits and everything, it's just so good. And it concludes the story really well. But I love that in this book, it brings up a load of like folklore. And it goes, because they go into different areas. You've got like the different folklores in different regions of like who would live where and like what they were doing and stuff like that. And it makes me want to like look in a lake every now and then to see if there's a Jenny Greenteeth like floating at the bottom. But it was just so, It was a lovely take, because obviously I was really worried when I was sort of like reading the blurb, and it was like, oh yeah, and so like a witch gets thrown in a lake and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if this is all about the witch trials, I don't really like reading about that, because it gets me a little bit annoyed, because essentially they just killed women who didn't agree with what they were saying. Do you know what I mean? I wish that some of them were real witches, you know, put a hex on them. But I'm glad that that wasn't kind of what was focused on. And the reason he basically wanted to get rid of her is because he realised that she was a witch, and she could cause some disconnection. No, that's not the word. Cause some annoyance to him later down the line. So he was like, I'm going to get rid of her now. But honestly, I would say it was such a sweet book. Like, I loved it. I think it's like a proper nice little summer read. You know, when you're having like an ice cream, sat out in the sun. Talking of the sun, it's just come out now. But honestly, I would just say give it a go. Like, if you like it, let me know. If you don't, leave it below. If there was other bookstores I should have visited out in America, please let me know, because obviously I did Barnes and Noble because I was told that's the big one, but you know I love a good bookstore, and I knew that I was limited with how much I could bring back, so that's why I didn't buy loads. But thank you so much for your continued support, and remember to always keep it contento.